Today we're working on a 2013 Nissan Rogue. We're changing the front axle. So these are the old axles that came out. I'm going to show you a clip right now of what the issue is, and then we'll walk you through the whole process of how to do this yourself and save a ton of money. So right here, this bearing is bad, it's moving side to side. So once it's actually moving, there's a lot of play. So I'm going to show you the clip right now. Go. That's the problem. We will be changing the front two axles, because apparently these are the old ones that they installed, and it's actually making a clicking sound whenever they go over, whenever they make right or left turns. So right now, wheels off, we're going to start with taking off this cotter pin. It's always easy when you have the right tools. Okay, so cotter pin is out. Take this little shield off. So the axle is at 32. Okay, so next we have to take this out, the silver covering, and then I'm gonna take out these two bolts that hold the struts. This way I can just pull the whole assembly out. Just to loosen up some stuff, I'm taking out, those are the two bolts that hold the axle into the bracket. So right now I'm just taking off the two bolts that hold the axle to the bracket in the back of the engine. And this is the little bracket that goes in. Those are the two 13s. So now we're just going to work on taking off the knuckle. Take on these two bolts out so we can pull the whole spindle forward and then take the axle out. For this portion, before I take the bolt out, normally just get a screwdriver and just mark where the unit was. So this way, when I put it back together, the alignment will be spot on. Or more or less spot on. Remove this little wire out of the way so you have more room. And just take the bolts out. So with the bolts out, you can see the amount of play you get. So now you can take the axle out. Just gotta tap this up a little bit. See, it's coming out. So now I just gotta turn this around and pull the whole thing out. So to give myself a little bit more slack, I just disconnected the brake line. Just held him by this clip, just hit it off, and just able to have me a little bit more wiggle room. There you go, the axle is out from the hub. So now I just gotta work and actually, I just have to work on dislodging it from right here. Okay, so it's actually sliding out pretty easy. So I should be able to just pull the whole thing out. I do have that container underneath the transmission, so this way it'll catch any fluid so it doesn't slip out onto the driver. And there is the fluid leaking out. There it is. That's the units that came out. Seems like the bearing or whatever in here went bad. See it's wobbling? It's moving back and forth. So when this was in the car, instead of spinning, correctly, it was was actually just wobbling up and down. So here's the new axle. Here's a comparison of the old and new one. And yes, if they did have zip ties on it, I don't know who put that in, but that's how I got it. So switching over to this unit, as you can see, the bearing's actually in place. This one has a little more wiggle room to it. Like always, I just like to put a little bit of anti-seize around the surface, so this way it'll give me less issue if anything ever happens, if it binding or anything along those lines. Here it is. It's actually fully lodged in. Here's the other side. So the bracket is fully intact. Now I'm just gonna start bolting everything back up. So we just put this bracket back on, slide it in. This tab is at the top, as you can see. Goes in like that, and you just put the bolts in. So it's bolted up. Now, as always, I just put a little bit of anti-seize on the axle spline, so this way it slides into the hub without any issues. Place. So now we just basically push everything and line these back up, put the screws through, then we can start tightening back up this side. So just to show you, you have a little bit of play once this is all together. So like I said, I just try to line it back up with those marks I made earlier, and this way the alignment should be more or less correct. So the passenger side is all back together. This pin is what I was talking about that holds the brake line in place. Everything is in place. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just fast forward to the other side, since I already covered everything over here. So this is the driver's side. It's a shorter axle, and I feel like I got a little bit of stuff on the ground, so I got to clean it up soon. But yeah, so same thing. Get this carter pin out, take this casing off, take this out, and then take this pin out, remove these rubber inserts, then take these out, and then you should be able to pop the axle out. So I just want to show you a little bit of the damage. This is the driver's side. It just started to leak right now, but already doing the passenger side, so I might as well just do both sides and call it a day, right? I did scribe the mark into the spindle, so it's good. Now I'm just gonna tap this out a little bit. There you go. Everything is loose, so I'll be able to just pull this back, slide this axle out. So this one's being very cooperative. So as before, slide this pan over and just try to pry it out. So the axle's in, shows you the whole process. Now I'm just gonna reinstall this section. Anti-seize on this section of the spline, and we're good to go. Just line these back up and just install the bolts. So now we're just back to tightening up the axle bolt. Slide this casing on the cotter pin hole. Just bend this one over and you're good to go. So we have the car running, heat up to operational temperature. Now I'm just going to check the transmission fluid level, because as you can see we had some fallout, so it only means that we're going to have to put some in, so we just got to check it once the car is warmed up. There's the dipstick. And just wipe it off. And it is very low. So I'm gonna have to get some transmission fluid before we can actually drive the car. So since this was last minute, this is the fluid I got. CVT and constant velocity transmission fluid. This was recommended for this transmission, and as you can see, it's bone dry. So I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna put some in there right now just so we can test drive the car. We'll put like a quarter because I'm sure that's what came out, and then I'll go from there. So currently I checked the fluid, it was actually low. It's a good thing I bought 2 quarts, because it took a whole quart and half of that one. So the transmission was low. So now I'm going to take it for a test drive around the block, get all the fluid moving, then come back, double check it again, and once everything is correct, then we'll be good with the car.
I live inside my own world of make-believe.